Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Our next speaker is Dr. Medicine Crow. He's a principal chief of the New Jersey Sandhill Band of the Lenape and Cherokee Indians. He spent over 30 years as a master shaman and holistic practitioner, teaching, supporting, and guiding people to heal mind, body, and spirit. He practices in Australia, New Zealand, and in the USA. Dr. Medicine Crow, over to you. You're muted. You have to unmute your microphone. Down at the bottom of your screen, you should see a microphone. At the bottom of the Zoom window, there's a microphone. There you go. Perfect.
Also, technology. Well, from both of you guys, thank you very much. That certainly was an earful and an eyeful and a mouthful. I'm not used to using so many words. More important that people understand what they're all about and that we are connected. And it isn't about us doing anything but just taking off your shoes and walking out and standing on the planet if you want to get grounded. But I want to talk about what I call a system. Is this a way of understanding what's going on? Because the big problem is that we spend so much time on our brains and being intellectuals that we forget that we're already connected. And sometimes from the European culture, you have to think about it and be intellectual. But we can go back to an old saying from the Lakota people, "Mitakui Asan," which means all our relatives or all our relations, which means that we're all connected and everything's alive and everything has spirit. And so therefore, all you have to do is just be you, you know, and if you find something that you have a passion about, remember, it's just stuff that you're doing. By the time you're born and when they put you in a box, it's something to do. It's the journey. And each one of you have found this journey that makes you work really well in something you're passionate about. With me, I'm more passionate about getting people to like themselves. Because what I find, and the biggest problem is that we're taught not to like ourselves, and therefore we don't give a stuff about anybody. You know, and that's why the planet's in such a bad shape, is because we have too many people telling us who we should believe in and where we should go and what we should do, instead of just realizing we're just little human beings and everything's alive and all trees breathe and all trees have energy and messages for you. So if you spend your life teaching people this, it's one thing. It's another thing. Let's get people to go out and sit next to a tree and sit with it for a minute until they see the tree's face. And then secondly, if they stay still long enough, the tree will start breathing in front of you. And if you stay still long enough, all the people that live out there in nature will come around and gather on you because they don't feel the threat from human beings. And the planet's in trouble because we're in trouble. And the problem with us is love means to be happy with, really. And this is what I've been facing for a lot of years of working with people, is people are not happy with themselves. They spend their whole lives looking for relationships to keep them happy or to fall in love with, when how can you have love if you're giving love from an empty bucket? You know, you have to start with loving yourself. So this system, I call it a system. My teacher calls it the fundamental principles. But over the years, I find that that's pretty much what I teach most of the time, just this basic thing. So if you want to jot things down, have a pen and a pad. It always helps. The first principle is a really interesting principle. The world's what you think it is. It's really simple. Not what the book thinks it is, or Stephen thinks it is, or what Google thinks it is. It's what you think it is. And all answers come from inside. We don't have any answers for anyone, guys. We have opinions. And that's one of the first things I'll tell my client. I say, listen, I can't give any answers, but I'm going to charge you for my opinion. And that's all we have. So, you know, we can be really smart and have lots of pieces of paper and all that. it doesn't really matter if you don't like yourself. And if we look at what's happening to our planet with the government, start thinking about the people that are in charge. And if they really care about us, or do they care about themselves? And a lot of that has to do with the doctrines that we've been taught as human beings, that there's something higher than us up there. And you can keep looking on the sky, looking in the Palladiums and everybody else, but if you're not walking on the planet, you don't like yourself, you get big problems. The second principle is there are no limits. Now, this is a really interesting principle because it allows us to do magic, doesn't it? The thing is that we limit ourselves all the time. Even if we want to do something, we'll say, okay, I'm going to do this. And off you go to do this, but there's no limit to it. When are you going to do it? What's it going to look like? How's it going to happen? Is it a color? Is it a place? So you have to send energy to something. Which leads me to the third principle: energy flows where attention goes. Whatever you think is what's going to happen. If you wake up in the morning and you're feeling like crap, guess what? There is no limits because the world's what you think it is. And you've just sent energy out to say you're going to feel like crap. So most of your day, you're getting it in the face, you're getting it on your head. People are pushing you out of the cash register rank, or a car comes by and splashes water over you, slipping some horse poo. Stuff starts happening to you because it's you who's creating all this. So spend a lot of time looking in books, or spend some time just sitting in nature. You'll find out that the information is there. All rocks are the first people of the planet, aren't they? You know, rock medicine. One of my first experiences is about rock medicine. I was taken up on a mountain by a grandmother, and she said, "Now, Medicine Crow, I want you to sit here until that rock tells you what the information is." So I sat on that rock, I pitched on the rock, I kicked it, I slept on it. And about 2 weeks later, I came down starving. She said, "What'd you find out?" Patience. So everything has a lesson for you if you listen. If you're so busy intellecting and thinking and doing all that, you're missing it, guys. The fourth principle is now's the moment of power. So as long as you're thinking of something and energy's flowing where attention's going, there are no limits, and the world's what you think it is, guess what? You are creating your own reality. And I used to be a scientist. In fact, I even became a minister to realize that I wasn't very interested in religion because it was just telling me about somebody else's opinion. When I didn't like myself, I was really in trouble. And most of these religions tell you that you don't like yourself and you're born in sin and all the other crap that goes with it. The reality is that love means to be happy with. That's all. Now, we use a word that comes from the Huna traditions or from the Maori people or Hawaiians. It's aloha. In New Zealand, they say aroha. Well, what it means is love. But the definition is to be happy with. So when you go to Hawaii and they give you flowers and put it around your neck and they say aloha, we think it's going to be a bare-breasted girl in a dress skirt and some guy in a kimono or a sarong with a daisy in his hair to take you out for a luau, where the basic thing is they just want you to be happy. And most of us aren't happy because we're angry. Now, whatever is driving you, let's hope that that anger is constructive and not destructive. Interesting, I know. So my job basically is to get people connected and to like themselves. And once they like themselves, it changes the energy in the planet, it changes the energy in the universe. But the shaman's responsibility is about bringing balance and harmony into oneself. You know, we pray like it's going all the time, but we don't pray really to get anything out of it because prayer is just talking to yourself, isn't it? But if you realize that you're connected, then when you talk to yourself, and because you have spirit and everything else is alive in the universe, then that energy goes out. But a real prayer, there's a deal attached to it. In religion, you're unworthy, so you can just have to keep saying the same thing over and over again. But a prayer is, please allow me to do this, that, and the other. I'll plant 4 trees. Now you made a deal. And that's what the universe is looking for. You don't need to tell people to do anything but to like themselves. And when they get out there amongst the rock people, they'll realize that the rock people are talking to them. Or the bird people, the ant people. You know, all of us are people. We're not so special. We're just human beings that don't know anything because we don't love each other, because we keep spreading like a cancer. And we are the cancer on the planet. And what heals? The most important thing that heals is love. Love means to be happy with. If you could get you and your friends and everyone else to be happy with themselves, then the best thing you can do, you've done it. You've changed the energy on the planet. I don't have a dogma for anyone or what they need to do. All I need to do is get them to like themselves. And once they start listening to themselves, now this is a problem because we don't listen to ourselves, do we? There's books out there, there's Google, there's Wikipedia. Everyone's got an opinion to give you. And because we are very uncertain about ourselves, we keep soaking up everybody else's crap when you got your own bag of stuff to deal with along. And ascension is doing that, just getting rid of the baggage. If you start getting rid of the baggage, you start to ascend. You don't have to be an intellectual to be smart. You know, our system is based on being intellectual, and intellectual is about being sharp. It's like having a knife. It's got to cut in, it's got to pigeon point, it's got to define, it's got to dissect, it's got to make something happen, where it's really just about living. And since everything is alive, you don't need to tell people where to go. We know there's aliens. They've been around all the time. We're bloody aliens. We don't even belong on this country. And my traditional people, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. So it's not hard to think that, oh, the aliens are, of course they are. All you got to do is walk down the street and you'll see us all walking around, you know, standing at takeaway stands, getting cappuccinos. I mean, that's not traditional. So let's not be so intellectual. Let's be more loving. And let's keep going with this. So the sixth principle is all power comes from within. And the center of that is right here in the center of your chest. And under that sternum is the thymus gland. And the thymus gland is the immune gland. And if you don't like yourself, guess what? You're not immune. And if you take your fingers and just start to do a heartbeat like that, in the center of your chest, you activate that thymus gland and your immunity comes back. Fear is what makes you not immune. And our society is based on fear and guilt, isn't it? You know, we have a saying amongst our people is that when the Yankees, which means the visitors, most people don't know that the word Yankee means visitor. When the Yankees arrived in their boats, there was a priest in the bow of the boat. He had a cross and he had the Bibles, and we had the land. And they taught us how to get down on our knees and close our eyes and pray. And now we've got the Bibles and they have the land. So these are things you need to think about, you know, following everyone else's doctrine when the only thing you need to know is that if you like yourself, things are going to work. And then here's the pump. If you're not liking yourself, guess what you're putting out? You're putting out negative energy. And this is where black magic comes and sorcery and all those things come from, and nasty people. If you like yourself, you're emanating positive energy, and we're all connected. So you don't need to go around looking for things. You can sit somewhere and have a cup of tea and start picking up on people's energy if you allow yourself to be receptive. Most of us are too empathetic anyhow. We're feeling everyone else's stuff and we think it's ours, and it's not. So boundaries become crucial to well-being, knowing how to set out your force field so you can stop picking up on everyone's stuff, stop trying to heal everyone and work on yourself. The seventh principle is a really interesting principle, and its effectiveness is the measure of truth. Is it working? No, that happens to me a lot of time, and I can get that seven principles kicking me in my bum all the time because a lot of things I do don't work. So what do? You change it. You don't keep doing the same bloody thing all the time. If it's not working for you, do something else. Why waste your time when the next thing you're going to be is you're going to be in a box where they're going to burn you up, put you in an urn and stick you in the box. May scatter you across the ocean and throw you out with the koalas in the bush. But it really is about being effective. And what are you doing? Is it effective? Are you wasting your time and they're going to put you in the box? Or you're doing something with it? It's your journey. It's your period. Now, listening to yourself is probably the last thing we want to do. And this is all part of the medicine wheel, okay? I might digress a little bit and go back. There's 4 major lessons to the medicine wheel. It doesn't matter where you come from. It matters what time you're born and where you were located. So people from the east of the medicine wheel, which are Aries and Taurus and Gemini, they have a primary lesson, which is introspection. Excuse me, I'm speeding. It's illumination. And illumination is about knocking on doors and getting poop in the face and going back and doing it again. You're not being illuminated. So people get sick because they don't learn their lessons. It isn't from all these fancy things that GPs tell you or specialists charge you $300 to tell you to get more blood taken so they can give you another pill. Okay? I have issues with all that because I used to practice and I realized that a lot of people not on the planet because I listen to the numbers and not look at the person. So it's about being a human being and being a feeler. Okay, moving on. The south of the medicine wheel, which are Cancerians, Leos, and Virgos, their primary lesson is innocence and trust. Now, people that are born under these aspects usually find out that their innocence is taken away from them pretty early and they stop trusting and they have to learn how to get all this back. In the west of the medicine wheel is what we call the Bear Clan. And the lesson of the west is the courage of introspection, the courage to listen to yourself. That takes more information than you can tell. The office is ringing. Let me see if I can shut that off over there. I spend my life sitting at a computer nowadays because you can't touch anybody. Okay. The lesson of bear is if you have questions, you must know the answers lie within because no one has answers for you. And bear is a keeper of the dream time. And your dreams are your realities. You talked about ancestors, Paulina. Our ancestors are who we are. In fact, if you look in the mirror, your great-great-grandmother's nose is sitting on your face. And trauma comes through the generations. It just doesn't happen because something happened to you 20 years ago. It could have happened to your great-great-great-grandfather. And you're carrying this trauma in your body. And aliens are always here. You know, we wipe out most things that don't look right to us because we think we're the only people here and we're the most intelligent people on the planet. So congratulations, Steve. You know, you're actually trying to find out where that person came from. They probably were here before we were, and they wiped us out. And that's something an Indian would say anyhow, isn't it? The 8th principle is your future's an open road. Don't block it. And so that 8th principle is really interesting in the fact that if you don't have marker signs of where you're going, you got this brand new blacktop with yellow lines going down the center, but there's no limits. So you don't have any direction of where you're going. Well, your future's that until you make something happen. Well, a lot of times I'll have my clients, well, most of the time, you can't get through me without learning the principles. I have them have a 90-day plan, and it scares people that they can plan 90 days. They're always thinking about 15 years in the future. Well, you're not going to make it, maybe. You know, you're lucky if you get outside, someone doesn't run a car over you before you get out there. So that 90-day plan keeps your goals and everything short. You can keep focused on that. 60 days in, you throw out another one. Now, the 9th principle is one of your favorite ones, Pauline, and that is make it sacred. If you don't treat yourself as sacred, then who is? What is? You know, we're walking on this planet and supposedly we're caretakers, and we're not, we're destroyers. We forgot what the feminine energy is all about. And I spend most of my time working with my sisters because the women are the creators. You know, men had to create religions so they could downgrade women. Well, it doesn't work that way. You know, and if you believe that stuff, well, good for you. But fortunately, we're in a democracy, so you can actually think and not get run out of town. But they used to. I would have got burned at the stake for the work I do. And that's just getting people to love themselves. There used to be a 13 until they changed it. You know, We used to work off the 13 moons, and the calendar was 13 moons. And the moons are based on women's moon time, isn't it? The full moon is the end of the period. And that's when women usually cycle. This is when women do ceremony on a full moon. Most don't even know that. Most girls don't even know what a moon time is. You ask them what their moon time is, and they look at you puzzled. When it's so important. When women work together, all women go on the cycle at the same time. So that system is really crucial to us knowing the world's what you think it is. There are no limits. Energy flows where attention goes. Now's the moment of power. Aloha is the key to this. Love means to be happy with. All power comes from within. Effectiveness is the measure of truth. Your future's an open road. Don't block it. And above all, be sacred, treat it sacred, and stay sacred. So when you walk on the planet, if you're a sacred being, then you know the planet's sacred because you've just made it sacred. And the drum that comes from my culture, and everyone's culture, because drumming has been around forever, that beat, boom, 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 is the heartbeat of the planet. And if you beat in the center of your chest of that, it will activate your thymus gland, and you'll start to feel better about yourself. And you won't be so driven to prove how great you are because you already know that you're as good as you're going to be. So why not have some fun? Go out and buy yourself some chocolate. Spend some money. Go shopping. That's my mom's idea. Go shopping, son. And you go out and you feel much better. When I have people call me up and they're panicking and things are going on, I say, when's the last time you've been in nature? Go sit down in a tree for 2 hours. And 2 hours later, she was tooting. I'm feeling much better now. Of course you do. In certain parts of the world, we write prescriptions. We call it earth bathing. I just call it going to the woods because that's where healing is. This is where we come from. If you want to feel good and get connected, take your hands and stick it in some mud. Realize who you are, where you come. That old saying ashes to ashes and dust to dust just means that we go back to where we come from. And this is only a skin suit. That's all it is. Your spirit's going to go around and see, you'll probably be tortured to have to go back and keep looking because there's something in there that drives you to find out more information when that could be your ancestor, and there is a way of connecting to that skull. You could go in the skull and ask, this is where shamanic practice comes from. Get your hands on it, close your eyes and go inside. And you might find that you can pull the spirit of that entity or that person into your spirit world and get connected, and that's where shamanism's become good for me from being a scientist and realizing who needs all that information. It's much better just to know that it's okay to be who you are. And once you realize that, the pressure's off. You don't have to prove to yourself how fabulous you are because you already know that you're doing pretty well. And most of that stuff that comes to you comes from what's happened to you in your primacy learning. Maybe. What do I know? It's just my opinion. But I kind of like it there because I have no authority. It's up to you to decide what's good for you. So the world's what you think it is, not what I think it is. And definitely not what Google thinks it is. And let's not be too intellectual. Let's just be human beings. I was doing a workshop in New Zealand with a bunch of homeless men. And I was talking about society and invasions. And the guy says, "You're a racist." I said, "No, I'm not a racist." I said, "What are you?" He says, "I'm a Christian." "And what are you?" I said, "I'm a human being." And it really upset this person. He left in a hurry. And I thought, well, he's not a human being, is he? I wonder what his stuff is. He's a Christian. Okay, I used to be one of those. I used to be married also. It's kind of nice not being married. It's really just the way it goes, If you learn your lessons and the world's what you think it is, you realize it's okay just to hang out by yourself. It's a lot easier. And if you like yourself, you will never be lonely. Sometimes when I go out, I'll go, geez, people out here. They're all around, you know, and what do I want to do? Well, I'll go out and I'll treat myself to a hamburger and watch the people. That's a good job, you know. Put your shades on. First shamanism one, good pair of spectacles with shades on, go sit and watch. And as you sit and watch, you start to learn, because people will tell you everything they need to show you. I remember the old medicine man came to me once, and I was an angry young Indian. I want to fight everybody. He says, I don't know why you're upset, Koga. They show you who they are. And it is about seeing and not looking. That's the same way you see when you look at a tree. See the tree, don't look at it. If I do a Nature Speak workshop and I take people out, I'll have them look at leaves and say, okay, look at that leaf. How's my time going? Everyone's watching. I don't want to go over because you guys have been pretty long-winded. Okay, it's about time up. Okay, see the leaf, because the leaf breathes actually, and it has energy flowing through its veins, which is called chlorophyll. It's like blood. Trees actually go out and they go in, but you have to be still, don't you? You can't be mentally and thinking and doing all this and trying to watch a tree breathe, because you're not going to see that because you're too busy. So stillness exercises are crucial to well-being. That's why I have vision quests. I take you out in nature for 4 days and nights fasting. You make a kans or an altar and you pray and you wait for answers to come, because they're out there. All you have to do is have questions. Now, you know that if you have questions, then you know the answers must come from inside, because no one's got answers for you. So I think I'm done. You can always contact me if you want more of my opinion. It's not too bad. I don't mind at all. I can usually talk for hours and hours and hours. I'm kind of glad it's only a 15-minute hit. I was really concerned that I might start talking. You wouldn't really shut me up. But thanks to certain other people, I don't have anything else to say. Stephen, thank you so much. And Pauline, it was great. You guys took me on a really interesting trip. I believe everything you say. I know that there's energy at Hanging Rock. I saw the film in the 70s when I saw it, and I thought it'd be a great movie. And actually, Peter Weir made it, so quite happy with him. But right now, the most important thing is you get the word out. If people love themselves, they'll hit the rocks. And if you guys ever want to work with me on this alien, maybe I can take you on a journey where you actually go meet that alien and find out who he is, because we're all aliens. So it would be my pleasure.
Thank you very much. That's super, super interesting.